Okay, Richard, try talking now.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Is this
Mic
Mr.
check.
Hart?
Yep. Yeah.
What's up,
Dude,
For
guys?
fuck's sake, Mr. Hart.
Dude, we got a celebrity in the house right now.
Show me your fucking bags, my dude.
You want my
What's
Prime
up,
coin?
man?
I got a big bag of Prime coin for you.
Is that PP coin? PPC?
Nah, it's literally it's Prime coin. It's a fork of Bitcoin that uses searching for primes. Rhett said he was going to fork it, and then he didn't. So I have a bag of this shit.
Hey, I like that. I like how you call Satoshi a coward.
He is. He's a faggot. I would spit in his face and then take his bags.
Oh my god.
Richard,
You're
don't
just-
tread on holy
big
ground.
burnout.
Don't tread on holy ground here. Look, it was great watching you on Tone today because Tone just got absolutely savage. The poor guy, I didn't know if he was jittering or if he was shaking. I couldn't tell.
He's different in person for sure.
His
Yeah,
metabolism still works.
Well, I mean, it's, he only eats once a day and he eats only meat, so like he's probably going to live longer than my fat ass. But it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I did. He is a scammer, and he spends all day calling everyone else a scammer, and it's the most.
I totally agree with you. I mean, shilling TD9, getting people to pay him just for basically telling them how to. I mean, it is snake oil. Yeah, I do agree with you, but he's doing that, and you are doing this Hex token fucking scam as well. So
I'm
I mean,
ready.
Hex is
I'm
cool,
ready.
At least with Hex, you're giving it away to Bitcoiners. I mean, it's a scam, but at least it's an honest scam.
Let's
You
do
can
all the
also-
stuff we agree on first, and then let's go to the stuff we disagree on.
Okay. I think we can agree that at least Hex is an original idea.
Yeah, for sure.
You like that?
Should we
You like
thrash on
that?
Tone some more? Should we just finish his ass? We spent 2 extra minutes
Dude,
on it.
I don't know how Tone can still be alive after that video, in any sense of the word. So I think we need to beat a dead horse.
He charges you money to eat steak next to him, bro.
I
For
can't believe
$295, you can eat next to him.
Is it really $300?
Yeah, and Jimmy Song's in on that shit too. You can eat steak next to both of them for $300.
I mean, to be fair,
God.
you go to a nice steakhouse, it's going to cost, like a good $200 of that for the actual steak and drinks.
Man, do you want to eat next to them though? Shouldn't they pay you?
Fair enough. Yeah, no, we actually ate next to him for free at this is before he was tone based. I mean, he was still tone based, but not as big as he is now. At the Brazilian Steakhouse in New York. Was that which one would we go to?
Like, I would be easier on the
Fogo de
guy,
Chao?
except I would be easier on Tone, except he has literally called me a scammer hundreds of times, and I've never charged anyone any money for anything ever for years. My chat rooms are free, my price calls are free, my token is free. There is a way to pay for it if you want, but it doesn't even exist yet. So for years...
Fair enough, second pause. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true. I mean, the amount of Tone sits there going, "Here's a scammer," while basically selling snake oil, fucking regurgitated T-Tomte mark indicator. I mean, he's very hypocritical of him, and he should just be honest about that and say, yeah, And I think you dropped some knowledge bombs in that interview as well, which really left Tone kind of sitting there thinking, I think I'm a little thin on the ground in my material here.
Yeah, he's like, you can't short Bitcoin because the Bitcoin won't be worth anything for you to cash out. And you're like, dude, you can do cash settled futures in CME. He's like, oh, well, they're just starting to do volume. You're like, man, they do like 20% as much volume as MEX. Like, what the hell are you talking about? He's retarded. He doesn't trade. He doesn't trade.
Well, hang on. Factual correction. CME futures is only 0.9% of Bitcoin futures volume, for what it's worth.
Well, that's worth a lot. So that's big. I quoted 20. You quoted 1. So there's a big difference there. But I wasn't counting OKX, right? Doesn't CME do $100 million, $200 million days? And doesn't MEX do $1 billion days? And isn't that 20%?
I mean, you can check the volume on the site. Let me get you the link.
Okay, so Hex, right? Do we want to do this like interrogative, like what's like me and Flibber just talking, or do you want me to answer questions? Or I'll do it interrogative. That'll be fine.
I honestly, I don't give a shit. We're just talking about it, aren't we? Anybody
Sure.
can, whatever.
All right, so I'll ask you questions then. What do you like about Bitcoin?
What do I like about it? I like the fact that it is the most original, well-distributed, liquid king of all of crypto. All the money's in it, all the money transacts in it. It's completely unstoppable, super great, like demons for it, very proven long-time resiliency on the code base. Just pretty much every aspect. I consider it like the gold standard.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, look, I could argue some of those points and say bad things about Bitcoin, but I don't mind them, right? Like, I'm fine with Bitcoin being amazing. It's really still the majority of my wealth, so be it. Like, let's have Bitcoin go to the moon. I'm cool with it. Is there anything that you wish Bitcoin could do that it isn't doing currently?
I mean, of course, I want personally, the dream, the original dream, was the original maximalist dream was one chain to rule them all, on the fact that Bitcoin had the most amount of, it would be so secure that you could just do your own chain and just tie into the security of Bitcoin. So that was always the dream. It hasn't really happened. I mean, I would love more things like, easy asset creation, redemption, the fast throughput, controls, dividends, all that kind of just, every company out there wants to issue shares, pay dividends. People want instant access to markets, liquidity, all this kind of stuff. And, is it right for Bitcoin to even do that? I mean, on the one hand, I want that. On the other hand, I don't know if it's even right. Like, it's almost like Bitcoin has to be the way it is, and that has to be on a higher level. It has to be an abstraction away. And, I do think that is coming through RGB, Lightning, RSK to some degree, and other approaches. Yeah.
All right. So I agree. There's things I want Bitcoin to be able to do as well that it can't. I would like anonymity. I don't think it's going to get forked in. I think the exchanges will risk getting their account shut down with Silvergate Bank and the only 4 or 5 other banks that they can actually work with. And so they're not going to allow that fork to happen. And we had to lie, cheat, and steal to get a 25% throughput increase with SegWit 2x with the NYC agreement. And we backstabbed them and didn't give them the 2 megabytes that they earned by allowing SegWit to go through. So that lying and cheating and stealing isn't going to work again. Furthermore, hang
on. You're monologuing about a lot of shit there, just like throwing points. I noticed you do this a lot, but so what? So I just finished describing what I like about Bitcoin. I mean, so what the fuck is any? Let's just steer this back to Hex. What the fuck is any of these questions you're asking me got to do with Hex? So let's go back to source.
Everything that you described is distributed finance, and Hex is a distributed finance product. It does things. So if you go to your bank, the most popular product at your bank is a savings account. The second most popular product is a time deposit. A time deposit and the savings account are identical, except that you get paid more interest in the time deposit if you lock your funds up for longer. There's a locking.
Okay, so let's just stop there, because I noticed you were talking about this on the interview, so you don't need to repeat it to me again. Sure. But you said, Bitcoin has no way to lock up your coins and
yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. There's loads of approaches. So if you want to
check lock time verify is what Lightning is based on, and it's Peter Todd's invention, and it works great, but it doesn't pay interest.
Okay, but there are other ways to earn interest on your coin if you want.
Finex.
I mean, you can give it to many places who will, give you a rate of return, to allow people to, borrow it to short it or whatever.
I agree 100%. The difference is...
So this is, I see this as a very much more organic, sustainable, and like real economic thing of like, interest and payments. Like to receive an interest payment, somebody has to lose to pay me that money. I'm getting something I didn't have before. Somebody has to pay it to me. And with the Bitcoin way, it's totally legitimate, sound economics. Whereas with the the hex coin way of this, we just pay interest just all the time to everybody. I mean, this just sounds like it's just going to race to zero.
Well, yeah, I've got this all figured out. So Bitcoin inflates at a much, much higher rate than Hex will inflate after its first year. So when you go from 0 coins to 18 million coins, you have to do a lot of inflation. And that's what Bitcoin did over the last 10 years. And it cut the inflation rate in half twice over those 10 years. Used to be 50 block reward, then 25, now 12.5. Now in 7 months, it'll be 6.25. But for the 10 years that it's existed and gone from 0 to 20K, it's always had a higher inflation rate than Hex will have after the first year. Furthermore, they're actually not comparable. In Bitcoin, all of the inflation is paid to people that pollute the environment, literally. Now it's a security model.
I know. Look. I noticed this common wave as well that you were going on about. This whole, miners. You pay miners to pollute the environment. I can understand where that logic's coming from, but I think there's another way to look at it as well, which is wealth in Bitcoin drives efficiency and technological innovation, because you want to get hold of that wealth. And the amount of energy to do it is always kind of going down, and you're competing against others. It's like, it's going to drive innovation in that, as the value of Bitcoin goes, it's going to drive innovation on that front.
Well, that's what you're saying is true. And then as soon as everyone has the same innovation, it becomes untrue again. Proof of work.
Yeah, until somebody innovates again.
Right. So miners will always operate at near break even, right? Because the cost to extract a resource always trends towards the value of the resource is an economic principle, right? Like the cost of mining gold.
This is with every business. Every business over enough time, margins, start off big, get squeezed to almost nothing. And then it's almost like a bull flag. And then it's like somebody innovates into something new, change, boom, levels up. Everybody catches on to the same idea. Profits very wide, loss very wide. Narrows down margins 0 down, 0 0. Then we've got this dialed in, boom, bull flag again. It's an innovation, moving forward thing.
Sure, I agree with that. But really, the only innovation you're getting is ASIC boost, which was a shitty innovation that caused centralization, which was a negative innovation. And then you get increases in miner efficiency. And then as soon as everyone's on the same process node, everyone ramps up the difficulty back to break even again, just like you said. And I don't really care about the pollution as much I care about them selling the fucking price down. So now.
But I mean, at the end of the day is their innovation also goes beyond that. It comes to like, not only how do you use the energy, but how do you get the energy? How are you going to, get it? Like now, the Texas plant, is going all solar, and so then it's going to drive more and more to, it could end up in the reach for energy, and it propels, solar Dyson sphere, energy extraction on a long time span.
One, I feel sorry for everyone who wants a suntan if we have a Dyson sphere. Two, I don't think that we need Bitcoin to help us need energy more. I think we need energy enough. Global energy consumption, Bitcoin is a rounding error, basically, right? So I don't care about the energy consumption.
Dude. We overproduce energy massively. What do you mean? Like 99% of the time.
I don't care about the pollution or the energy consumption. I care about the price. The miners keep selling the shit down. Difficulties at all-time highs, prices at 3 times less than all-time highs, which is increased sell pressure. We're dying. The price is dying on the way into a halvening event. Bitcoin hasn't done that before. It's new, it sucks, and the miners are responsible for it.
I,
You're looking
I
at a
agree.
very small time. This is all white noise in the middle of a bigger, greater scheme of things. It's uncomparable. This time frame that you're talking about, 20K all-time high. I mean,
But I mean,
none of this is
No,
relevant to Hex, truthfully. Like, we're also a proof of work network, so who gives a fuck, right? So, like,
Look at how
the innovation
gold
here
is.
is. Go ahead.
what
Sorry,
I
I was
was
just
going to say,
Go ahead, Flipper.
fucking, can't fucking remember. I was just trying to get all my effort to get a fucking word in.
We
Yeah,
shouldn't
I
talk
mean,
about mining, right? Like, it's not.
Look. I agree with you. In a frame of mind, you can say that things will drive towards using less energy, and if you can achieve the same level of security and consensus without having to expend that energy, would it be better? Yeah, in many ways, yeah. But maybe it would. And. Yeah, why not? I mean, that is the nature of the market. But the other thing I would say is, with regards to time span, is that as the price and market cap goes higher and higher, it becomes exponentially more difficult to bring in more money to continue to level up. Like, you want to go from $1 to $2, you got to have $1 million injection. You want to go from 10,000 to 100,000, you got to have like 500 billion injection. So it's like each consolidation from each wave, and this is just a dream, obviously, takes longer and longer to kind of like build up that new level of like mega momentum to drive it through to the next level. It's on a curve, isn't it? Is the ideal dream plan. But like I say, what is it to do with Hex anyway?
Can I just jump back to the CME futures? I'm showing on the November contract that they did 83 volume, and I believe there's 5 Bitcoin per contract, which would be like 40,000 BTC volume, which would be like a third of a billion in volume. So am I misreading this shit, or did they do a third of a billion? Because that should be about a third. Here, I'll give you the link.
CME did 500,000. Half a billion.
Okay, well, that's like half of Mexren, right? Like, so it wasn't off that much. I said 20%.
Makes it 3.7 billion.
Today? Next to 3.7 billion today?
There's a link for it all. But, I mean, these numbers, I don't even know what the fuck's real with them, honestly. I mean, I don't even know what I trust on any of these numbers. So, right. But anyway, let's just
let me go back to Hex, right? I think that we should replace banksters and counterparties and risk
we all think
with trustless peer-to-peer shit. And right now, I said that we could use a smart contract to replace the CD, and you said we could use centralized finance to replace the CD. And as we've seen, centralized finance fails over and over and over again. They get hacked, they get their bank accounts emptied, they get attacked from governments. They have all types of problems that blockchains don't have reliability-wise, right? So if you would you rather onboard to Hex through a smart contract, or would you rather onboard through an order book at an exchange?
I mean, if you're talking about with regards to like loans and lending, I mean, some kind of decentralized, trustless, peer-to-peer lending market that exchanges could borrow from to facilitate short. I mean, this sounds great.
Do you know Uniswap works?
eSwap.
Uniswap.
No, never even heard of it.
Okay. Interesting. So Uniswap is an algorithm market maker that uses an X times Y equals K. And what that means is that you put in two different... If I explain Uniswap to you, it's going to fucking take so long. The point is that you can...
Yeah, just skip it. Just
if you take... Well, it's just another. So in decentralized finance, there's two different ways that you can do it. One is to run an order matching engine and have an order book where you have to fill both sides and you have to have buyers and sellers. And then in order to tighten up the bid-ask spread, you have to have market makers. And that's a whole lot of acquiring different people with different incentives into the same order book. And it's very hard to do, which is why so many exchanges just kind of flounder and don't get viral, right? And whoever gets the runaway most volume tends to keep it. So it's very hard to kickstart a new market. It's very hard to start a new eBay. It's very hard to start a new order book. And you don't have to have order books. You don't have to have order matching. You don't have to have people on the bid and ask spread. You can condense them all into one thing, right? Just like Bitcoin does. Bitcoin doesn't have an order book for handing out its block rewards. People just compete. If less people compete, they get more rewards. If more people compete, they get less rewards. It's algorithmic and it's automatic. And Hex is the same shit, except we're not monetizing hash rate. We're monetizing lock time. We're the first people in the world to monetize lock time. And in the real world, people care about time. They care about the time value money, and they monetize it. That's what vesting periods are in stocks, and that's what the CD is. And we've just copied the CD from the regular world. If you lock a year longer, you get 20% more interest. If less people stake, you get more money. If more people stake, you get less money, just like Bitcoin.
Richard, real quick question. You ever heard of Tezos?
Yeah.
What is the difference between you and Tezos? Tezos is basically already doing this.
Tezos is a smart contract platform that's claim to fame is doing verifiable, provable, formalized, impossible to hack smart contracts. That's their claim to fame. It's a smart contract platform. It doesn't have anything to do with time locking.
I mean, the staking process is involved with the security deposit. It's locked up coins. Same scenario as what you're saying in essence. And I mean, the whole sell point of Tezos is that how it changes its consensus is it's through voters, right?
Yeah, but so we're talking if we're comparing Hex to masternodes and staking coins, in a masternode or a staking coin, you can dump your bags whenever you want and hammer the price. And in Hex, you can't.
You can't. You cannot. With Tezos, my security deposit that's being baked for every reward I get, I have to place a security deposit. It's locked up for a period of time, and for every reward I continue to receive, I have to continue to lock it up. That's why I need a security deposit. That's why Coinbase needed to buy 2 million Tezos.
Right. So do they pay you more if you lock longer?
It's not. It's all about inflation rates.
Okay.
So
well, they're not. That's the only interesting thing my thing does, and I am unaware of any other thing that does that. So paying people more to lock for longer is the entire game. It's what CDs do. It's what Hex does. And to the best of my knowledge, nothing else does that.
Okay. So your smart contract for DEX, is that open source?
Well, it's not a DEX, right? There's no order in order.
Hex. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, so the actual code you can get on the GitLab and read it all, or you can read what's public on the website, but the code is not open source licensed. So Ethereum's open source licensed, the Hex code isn't. Just like when EOS launched. When EOS launched their ERC20 that they raised $4.2 billion with, right up at the top of the code that was declared says copyright block 1.
Okay, but I'm not a fan of EOS anyway. So what? So
you
why?
Were. I know you were, son. I remember when you bought it.
Yeah, I mean, when it was going up and people were loving it, sure. I mean, EOS is the future. But now it's falling out the fucking sky. Fuck EOS. But look, let's get back to.
So the question is, do you think since Bitcoin has time locking, but it cannot reward any good behavior except mining. It can't reward stakers that hold and don't dump per price. It can't reward developers. It can't reward marketers. The only pumpamental they have is that they cut the inflation rate in half every 4 years, and they pay miners via a pool system. And
but why should it pay people to lock up their Bitcoin?
So that you don't have to get raped by counterparties. If you want to earn interest on your Bitcoin,
it doesn't make it any more useful.
What are you talking about? Yes, it does. If you want to earn interest on your Bitcoin right now,
more useful.
Yes, it does. Listen, we're the first cryptocurrency in the world with a chart of future market supply. If Satoshi came on chat right now and said, "Hey, Flipper, you know what? I'm going to sell all my coins 2020 on July 5th," you wouldn't believe him. You would think he was lying to you because it's not his best interest to tell you the truth. But in Hex, we have a truth engine where you get paid all the inflation of the currency, which is lower than Bitcoin's ever been, for telling the market what you're going to do in the future. This is when I'll be able to unlock my coins.
But look. Say I created, say I got Bitcoin right now, and I created a clone, of it on GitHub. I forked the repo, and I changed it to put some code in to say this is now going to. Introduce an additional payment into the network Is that suddenly going to, become? Does that make it like useful that people will then start using it at that point?
Well, I mean, if you've looked at, Dogecoin's worth $250 million. Does that feel like a fair valuation to you? And it doesn't have any extra features, right?
The thing is with these shitcoin valuations is, most of the shitcoins are traded against two things, which is Bitcoin and Tether. And the Bitcoin pairs are incredibly illiquid, and there just isn't enough Bitcoin interested in alts to go around to support liquidating these shitcoins at these prices. So that's just basically worthless.
I don't think that's a good argument. I don't think liquidity is what's holding the prices up.
Well, I mean, let me just finish, because the main pair they're actually traded against, the dollar pairs, if you say most of them are traded against Tether, I mean, Tether's market cap is $4.4 billion. So you're talking about like, I don't know, $100 billion worth of shitcoins, but there's only 4 billion claimable anyway, and most of that's traded against Bitcoin. There's only probably like half a billion even interested of that total Tether circulation. Even those valuations are just shit. And what you have is basically a bunch of people, say BSV for example. I'm holding BSV because the price is $200. On paper, I've got 200 million or whatever. You can never cash this out. So you just have a fuckload of people sitting on unclaimable, unrealizable paper gains, and none of them can really sell any of it anyway.
As a person with a huge bag of Prime Coin, I understand what you're saying, very well. But I think that if you have a $250 billion market cap, or $250 million market cap, surely you could spread out over 1 or 2 years, even a large position trying to get out. And we've seen these things I think everything's market caps could be lower, but it's all of this trading and price and volume analysis is irrelevant to the idea that we want to get rid of the banks. And if you want to get rid of the banks, you got to replace all the products they have. Bitcoin cannot replace the CD, because it could not pay people for locking.
Okay. So this is the core essence. The core essence is Bitcoin doesn't do everything that we need it to do to replace the traditional legacy world and move beyond them. Yes. Yeah. Okay, and I agree with you. So the question is then, what is the solution? Is Ethereum the solution to that? I think technically it is flawed. It's just technically flawed, the whole concept. They said themselves, everybody knew ETH1 was never going to be scalable. Okay, we'll tell that to everybody who bought the top of 2017, but the problem is now your movement to ETH2 to me just looks like a really big fucking mess. And in the end of the day, new implementation, just like ETH was new to Bitcoin, Cardano, Tezos, other ones, they're going to be trying to out-innovate, and they're creating their own marketplace as to who can provide this next level. And there'll be first mover advantage, but it could be a very distributed ecosystem with links within links, interlinking things, interlinked. But but even down through all them layers, the bottom one is could be what. So, but how many Bitcoin can you claim?
I've got the solution for this. Right? I've thought deeply about these things for a couple of years now. I can tell you, and then you guys are going to get triggered by this. I can tell you that Ethereum is more secure than Bitcoin, and I can prove it to you. You ready for that one?
I mean, I'm not at all triggered by it. I don't believe it. Sure, prove it if you want.
Okay.
I'll look at a link.
Sure.
I mean, I just don't believe.
So how many times has Bitcoin rolled back the chain?
I have no fucking idea.
Once. They did it once. There's been the most critical possible vulnerability that you can have in a blockchain is rewriting history. And we haven't had that yet because SHA-256 and hashing over and over and over again stuff works pretty well. But what we have had is the second most critical vulnerability, which is print as many free coins as you want. And Bitcoin has had two print as many free Bitcoins as you want vulnerabilities. One of them was executed in 2010, and someone minted 16 billion Bitcoin, and they had to roll the chain back. We had another mint as many free coins as you want vulnerability about a year ago, and it was discovered by a Bitcoin Cash developer who disclosed it instead of using it.
Okay, hurry up.
Ethereum has never had that shit, either of those things. So people talk about...
Okay, look. That's an amazing thing to say, right? And it's brilliant. But, as it stands today, right, what is more secure? How many... Wait, not because of a bug Bitcoin had in 2010, or a bug Bitcoin had last year. At the end of the day, a large market cap, a lot of liquidity makes you a more attractive target. I'm sure there's many shitcoins out there which have these kind of vulnerabilities to even terrible degrees, but they don't have the market cap or liquidity to make them, people invest time and interest and to understand, and run them all this bullshit, Anyway, so
what you just described supports my point, not yours. So you just said it's a bigger, juicier target to attack because of the higher market cap, which means it's going to get attacked more. When you have a higher market cap, it doesn't make your software any better. It just makes the attacks more common. That supports my argument, not yours.
Well, what it is that it means that, because you are trying to be attacked, your code base becomes very, very resilient. Because you can say the entire code base up to, from this commit to now has had this amount of duration of battle testing. If you keep building a larger and larger attack surface without this heavy attack vector against it, you're building like weak walls,
So Bitcoin failed and had to roll back the chain, and then failed again and got lucky and didn't have to roll back the chain. And Ethereum never didn't, but you're appealing to, but maybe somehow Ethereum still sucks. Well, Ethereum's got a bug bounty program, and those actually work. And Bitcoin doesn't.
Okay, look, Richard, honestly, you're going completely off the rails on this. I mean, Bitcoin, in 2010, when fuck all people knew about it, and there was still a fucking marketplace, Amazon, eBay thing on the Bitcoin Core fucking GUI client. Yeah, big fucking deal. Okay, last year something happened. Wow, I'm sure. Look at Parity.
So you don't like bug bounty programs?
Look. No. What I'm saying is, look at Parity. When they locked up all that money. Shit.
Nothing to do with the Ethereum network. Nothing to do with it.
Okay, fine. But what I'm saying is, in software and software development, shit just does happen. And sure, this, something got through. Oh, big fucking deal. And you're like, oh, we didn't have to roll back the chain. Look, I don't even think anybody would even support a chain rollback if there was an inflation of an extra million coins, right? I don't think anybody would support a rollback at all. Honestly, you wouldn't get anybody to do it. Yes, yeah.
Sure, I agree.
But
let's talk about software development. You're a software guy. I'm a software guy.
This is really important. Vitalik, right? He owns the fucking huge stakes in Ethereum Foundation. Fucking Joe Lubin. Joe Lubin owned Consensus. Said he's paying $100 million a year to these developers to work on ETH-related shit and all this stuff. What happened? The premise of the question was, what is more secure? You've got this centralized entity, Vitalik regularly talking about, if miners get out of control or hard fork them out. Just the other day, whatever, like this. Controlling all of ETH2 development, owning all the nodes and the node control. Owning huge amounts from the pre-mine, then trying to switch it to proof of stake. You think this is more secure than a decentralized network of literally hundreds of thousands of nodes? And you said in the video, the fucking
you guys don't have
non-mining nodes. Pardon?
Yeah, Ethereum and Bitcoin have the same number of nodes, and I think it's about 10,000.
Okay. It's 10,000 discoverable nodes on Bitcoin from a node, but globally the number is very hard to know. But globally, the number's coming in more than 100,000. But anyway,
so let's just talk about software design.
Even then, you said in the video, non-mining nodes don't matter, and
they don't.
Okay, and I can understand that they're very passive, but they're also very important because they enforce the rules of the network. Just take a very extreme example.
They don't.
Take an extreme example. You have one node. How easy is it to change the rules? Easy, it's one guy. You have 10. How easy is it? Harder. You have 100,000.
It's not true.
That is entirely true because that's the numbers. The numbers relaying the blocks, enforcing the rules.
Here's how it really works. Okay, there's 3 economic parties. There's exchanges, and they matter, and the nodes they run, they matter. There's miners, and the nodes they run really, really, really super duper matter more than anyone else's because they could just choose to mine empty blocks forever, and then there is no more in Bitcoin network. It's over, right? Or you could fork, and then they could just blow your fork out. Or you could do proof of work change, and then some other guy could blow your fork out, right? So miners matter, exchanges matter, and then we've got the quote users who are slaves to the default, who aren't smart enough to compile the code themselves, who aren't smart enough to know how to edit their conf file, and all they do is run the default, right? And who's really in charge of those guys? The people who set the default. So what happens if...
I've talked about this before, but
what happens if you change your rules and you're not a miner and you're not an exchange? All you do is fork yourself off of the rest of the network and no one gives a shit. You only affect yourself when you change your rules on your node. The only reason that SegWit2x worked, and I was a proponent of, is because they threatened to Sybil attack the network and divide the network and screw the network over by having just enough nodes that when new nodes would go on board, they would talk to the nodes that voted the silly way, and then it would cause problems to the network. They put a gun to the network's head and threatened to Sybil attack it. And that's the reason that SegWit got into the network, is because the users threatened it. But did they actually had to do that?
You're right. The users, because the miners, Jihan, was obviously being an asshole. Yep. And, Jihan and Roger, and they had their own agenda and they had the hashing power. And the user said, well, fuck you. So, so while you admit while you admit and concede it was done by the users, under the same breath, you go on to say how they don't matter and it's only mining nodes that do matter. And yet the users brought them to their knees.
Okay. So
you just said that's
hold
exactly
on.
What
go
happened.
the next. So sure, go the next level, right? And say what happened if the miners were a little less reasonable and didn't care about the threat and let them fork off. What would the state of the network look like then? The miners would be making money. The exchanges would be making money. The network would work fine. And then all the guys that thought they were cool wearing SegWit2x hats would be on their own little fork that didn't mine any blocks and didn't have any exchanges that used it. And it wouldn't have the BTC ticker. It would have some other weird ticker.
But that wasn't what happened. You can turn around at every point in time and say, what if this was this, at everything. But that wasn't the way it happened.
But they got away with drunk driving and they didn't kill the network. That doesn't support drunk driving.
But it didn't happen for that way because of, people making decisions in this game theory of the game of coins,
Right. So let's go back to software design, okay? Do you know why people don't like working on spaghetti code? Because when you try and fix anything in spaghetti code, you create a new bug, and then you have to now fix 2 bugs. So when you try and reason about repairing software or improving software, spaghetti code is the absolute worst. And so how do you get around spaghetti code? Modularity and simplification. The best code is no code if you can get there, right? So how did the last inflation bug get into Bitcoin? Someone tried to improve the networking stack to get less latency, and it accidentally touched consensus and allowed anyone to print as many free Bitcoin as they wanted. And you will continue to have that problem in Bitcoin because it is spaghetti code and it is not modular, and the wallet and the consensus and the networking is all vitally interlinked, which is why barely anyone can be qualified to even work on the code, and it takes 9 months of trading before you can make your first useful commit. In Ethereum, with a smart contract like Hex, our consensus code is locked in an immutable smart contract that is nearly impossible to accidentally fuck up the consensus on because it's isolated and modular. And that type of security...
What is this smart contract you talk? Because I asked you before, I said, is the smart contract open source? And you said no.
Oh, no, it's viewable and auditable, and you can download it and shit. You just can't fork it and do whatever you want with it. So yes,
So why can't I just copy and paste it?
You can. It would just be illegal if you used it, right? Like, if no one exchange would list you.
But I could just copy and paste it.
Sure, you could run it on your own testnet, copy and paste it, and do all that shit. But if you tried to gain money with it, the exchanges wouldn't let you because you'd be violating the law, right? Like, you can't just.
But the Ethereum network's not going to stop me, is it?
Oh, like if you want to break the law, like you can, like sure, like I'm.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, if I'm just an address, the Ethereum network is not going to stop me, is it?
I can tell you with a very large degree of certainty that if you made a copy of this contract and tried to make a go of it commercially, you'd be very likely to fail.
Hex Classic, baby.
Yeah, and when it is successful, I'm sure someone will build something similar. So
Richard,
go ahead.
I think you're comparing two completely different things. Like what you're proposing with Hex and what it's supposed to accomplish and what it's supposed to do is not what is Bitcoin's focus and goal, right? You have comparable traits to other shitcoins, including Tezos, that you should be competing with. Bitcoin is not your competition, and I don't think will ever be. That's the thing.
It depends on what you want. It depends on what other cryptocurrency, right? If you want distributed finance,
you're speaking about interest rates, you're speaking about CDs, and then you're comparing, for example, gold to these CDs and infrastructures. No one is expecting gold to pay the holder of gold to get profit out of that or interest rates. It's the infrastructure that you build around gold that might pay you or whatever the case may be. But the use case for gold is exact value or wealth or whatever the case may be, right?
Here's what I know. Cryptocurrencies do many things for many different people. For some people, if you go on the darknet, you actually want to buy stuff, the majority of it is Bitcoin, not Monero. I have no idea why. Probably because you can't buy Monero on an ATM, but that's how it is, right? So maybe 5% of Bitcoin commerce is actual commerce on the darknet. The other 95% is the utility token for Shitmex. So the majority of Bitcoin's actual utility is a utility token for BitMEX. Now, if you want to talk about speculative stickiness, we've got amazing speculative stickiness. If you want to talk about cheap transactions, we got cheap transactions. If you want to talk about two security audits and one math audit, costs about $60,000, we've got that. Bitcoin doesn't have any audits, right? If you want to talk about modular,
that you have going against you though is the first mover advantage. Like that's the problem. You can't beat that. You will never be able to beat that. Just like no one can beat gold as the first mover in global currency, right?
Because you don't think you can onboard more than 2.8 million users with $1,000 in a wallet, which is all Bitcoin has? Bitcoin only has 2.83 million users with over $1,000 in their address, period. That's pitiful onboarding for existing for 10 years. Other startups like Fortnite or WhatsApp or any other number of technical startups has gotten millions and hundreds of millions and billions of users in 6 times less time, right? So
again, you're comparing apples to oranges. You're really comparing.
No, I'm not. The Ponzi schemers are onboarding millions of users every year with the same sales pitch as you, but they're just robbing the fuckers at the end. And the reason they could do that is because they have a marketing budget to buy ads and they have a referral program. So we have a referral program, and our referral program allows people to compete with those Ponzi schemers and actually onboard people without the exit scam bullshit. So the things that people really care about aren't the things that Bitcoin does, which is why the most traded cryptocurrency in the world is not Bitcoin. It's fucking Tether. And Tether's the opposite of Bitcoin. Tether's an extra counterparty in between you and a bank where they get interest and you don't. That's the opposite of what Bitcoin was invented for. I'm trying to get rid of counterparties and make things more efficient and onboard users to save them from the Ponzi schemes by offering them a similar sales pitch, but with an audited contract.
That was what Bitcoin was invented for. Can you elaborate on that? What was Bitcoin invented for, in your opinion?
Bitcoin invented? It's literally in the white paper. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash. The original Bitcoin use case was a peer-to-peer electronic cash. It entirely failed to get any adoption anywhere. There's less volume on chain than there was in 2017. There's less new users. There's less Google searches.
Because you're looking at the top of a bubble. I mean, wait till the next bubble, and then you're going to be sitting here being like, wait, 2017 was just, I guess now we're in a, it's all relative,
I don't know why you have such low standards. You could already have hundreds of millions of users using Bitcoin if you had fucking advertisements or a better user experience or improve the software.
It's not low standards. You can be offering a better option, better, everything could be better in what you're saying, right? With Hex or whatever the case may be. Except the one thing that you will never be able to beat is time. That's the one.
MySpace came before Facebook, and MySpace isn't here anymore. And the 8-track came before the cassette tape. And the CRT came before LCD.
You're looking at two different. Again, you're comparing apples to oranges. You're looking at platforms where people are exchanging information versus a global currency here, right? We're looking at
it's not a currency. No, you cannot call Bitcoin a currency. It is not used as a medium. It is not used as a unit of account.
Why would you say that? Because
it's not used as a unit of account. It's used as a medium of exchange sometimes for 5% of its commerce. Look, I have a huge bag of this shit. I hope Bitcoin's price goes to the fucking moon. I truly do. But it doesn't mean I can't do better.
What I'm saying is, most of the experience that we have and the people that we talk with are traders, right? They're just here to intraday trade, make money on the price going up or down $100, yada, 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 yada. The people that you don't really know who have the majority of Bitcoins possibly could be people that don't want to be sanctioned by other countries, that don't want to deal with fiat, don't want to deal with USD, don't want to be, taken out of the network. They want to hold some sort of way to transact volume or wealth without someone telling them they can or cannot. You don't know. You don't speak to those
truly
people.
don't have any interest in attacking Bitcoin. I don't want to attack Bitcoin. I don't want to attack Bitcoin. Bitcoin's awesome, right? Most liquidity, most ATMs, it's great. Fucking, I love Bitcoin, right? So let's talk about what Ethereum can do that Bitcoin hasn't done, right? 5 out of 11 of the top 10 market cap cryptocurrencies in the world launched on or primarily use fucking Ethereum. Fucking period. BNB launched as an ERC20. EOS launched as an ERC20. USDT primarily uses the ERC20 format to move fucking Tether, the most transacted volume cryptocurrency in the world. And I don't even really like to call it cryptocurrency.
Can I just interrupt very quickly? Because I would argue the same thing. And I would say what gives something value is also its utility, which I briefly touched upon with Hex, which is how useful is it that I've got? If it's a Beanie Baby, it's fucking useless. If it's a tulip, it's fucking useless. If it's Bitcoin, it's pretty useful. If it's Ethereum, well, if it's a lot more useful, is it more valuable?
In crypto, no. Sadly, in crypto, very useful tokens are worth nothing, and very useless tokens are worth a lot. And actually, I could make the case that the more efficient and the higher throughput the Ethereum network gets, the more it will become a dump pipe and its price will go down, where the value will be captured at the endpoints. So Amazon got rich, FedEx didn't get rich, UPS didn't get rich.
I agree, and it's also a way you could say, like, when Tether was on Omni, or anything to do with Counterparty. Tether is worth billions. Omni is worth shit. It's just a transfer mechanism.
Less than $100 a day of volume on Tether and Counterparty. Maybe they'll go up to $200 someday. Total volume.
Yeah, yeah. So it could be like that, But at the end of the day,
it's good for me. I want roach fees. I don't want the pipe to make money. I'm an endpoint.
Yeah.
I want them to keep the money at the endpoint.
Yeah, but I think some of the major problems with your thing, I liked you talk with the Eric guy as well. I like the Eric guy.
Smart fucker, smarter than me.
Yeah, I like him. But yeah, like one problem is obviously it could just easily be replicated. Like I can just copy and paste your code base and change a few things and do a fucking ICO, whatever.
Do you know the history of that is in crypto? Go through the history of any time that's ever been tried in crypto. Go look at the ETC market cap versus the ETH market cap.
I know. They always fail. I know. But I'm just saying.
Fail. They just get 2 or 3% maximum. It's not failure. Like 2 or 3% of $1 billion is still a lot of fucking money, right? Like it's not a failure, but it ain't never going to be competitive.
Okay, so I think that's a problem. I think the whole idea of paying people to lock up their Hex is also a bit of a problem. Because I don't see that really.
It's what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin pays miners to dump the price, and we pay stakers to hold the price up at a lower inflation rate. That sounds like a no-brainer.
I mean, I don't think it pays. It doesn't pay miners to dump the price.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, well, I was a miner and I sold that shit. So, I dumped the price with my coins. So,
great.
You use electricity to produce Bitcoin, and you got paid for it. It's not that you got paid to dump the price.
Okay, guys. Maybe so. Let's assume the opposite and see if you're proof by absurdity triggers. Do Bitcoin miners get paid to move the price up? they mine Bitcoin, then they buy more Bitcoin and move the price up? Do they press the green button or do they press the red button? They press the red fucking button. Like, this is super simple shit. Like, I have a bag of this stuff too, but I don't have to, like, imagine shit. Miners sell fucking coins. They'll sell them to you directly. You can call them up and set a deal with them. Go call Genesis Mining. Like, they'll sell you the fucking coins. Not a mystery. So look, here's the point. 5 of the 11 top 10 cryptocurrencies in the world launched on or primarily use Ethereum. None of them has had any problems whatsoever. Ethereum has never had an inflation bug. Ethereum has a bug bounty program. And I've got 3 audits for my project, right? And I'm giving this shit away for free, like how I got into Bitcoin. I got into Bitcoin free. Now you can get into Bitcoin Hex for free, except I won't even call it Bitcoin Hex because I don't want the fucking brand name. It's just called Hex.
Ethereum was basically like the king of all Ponzi's in 2017. You just make a fucking coin, you name it, you say, I have an ICO, and people just threw money at you. That's why everybody jumped to Ethereum, because you could literally print money out of thin air. Why wouldn't anyone do that?
I agree with that. But that's better for me, isn't it?
I mean,
isn't that like awesome? Doesn't that sound good?
I'm not saying that's not good, but for the certain people that bought that shit, that thought it was going to be, the next big thing, they got burned.
There's only 3 ways to help people stop getting burnt. You can either complain to the regulators and they don't have enough staff and they only act after the fact and they never get anyone's money back, except for, once or twice, right? Like Madoff, they got some money back, but usually they don't get shit. Okay, so that doesn't work. All right, what's option 2? We scream and we cry and we complain to these people that can't even hear us because we can't afford to put pay-per-click ads out. And we say, hey, stop getting scammed and be smarter. And guess what? They can't be smarter and they can't stop getting scammed and you never even reach them. So that shit doesn't work either. You want to know the only way to actually save people from getting scammed? To reach them with a better scam first that isn't a scam. You've got to use the same marketing channels and the same sales pitches to get these people's money out of their hands before they lose all of their fucking life savings. You know the reason Bitcoin isn't at all-time highs right now? Because everyone got fucking wrecked and they had to work a day job to try and save up a stack to try and press the green button again. So here's what happened to Bitcoin. The libertarians got onboarded first.
Richard. Let's not go into your theories about why Bitcoin went up, because honestly, I've heard a lot of this, and I think a lot of it's absolute fucking bullshit. Like, really shit ideas, honestly.
Do you think OneCoin investors lost all of their life savings? Because I see television shows with these people looking sad, talking about how much money they lost. We agree that shit happened, right?
I mean, OneCoin was amazing. I mean, if only she had bought some bags of Bitcoin and used her marketing skills to pump the shit out of Bitcoin, it could have been totally legit. She'd be heralded in the Bitcoin community as a fucking hero, and she'd be fucking rich and legit. So, unfortunately, she went down the actual no coin and just total Ponzi. But what about it?
This whole conversation about price and 20K being the top and people getting wrecked. I mean, everything that's in the market has ups and downs. You can't just have straight up. You can't just have straight down. It bounces. I mean, look at Berkshire Hathaway, right? The most expensive stock in the world. Look at its dips. Massive. And I'm telling you, I can guarantee you that people lost their life savings in those dips. Right?
I don't think it ever dipped over 40%. And I think its most common dips are about 20%, which in crypto is like, lol, we do 85 every 3 years. But we're not like, I don't want to talk about price action or trading. I want to like remove those theories and just talk about like the simplified like difference, right? So Bitcoin has time locking, but it can't monetize it. Nothing else has time locking except someone in chat says that Tezos does. I'll look into it. I doubt it, but okay, I'll check it out.
Tezos is the leader in that aspect right now. That's
staking is not staking, and masternodes is not paying extra for extra time. It's not monetizing time. It's different.
Tezos is in a masternode. It's none of that shit. It's not in that bracket. Look into it a little.
I'm happy to look into it.
I personally believe your main competitor is Tezos.
Sure,
right?
I don't mind it. Like, look, someone else could build this. I don't mind competing, right? So I've got 20,000 people on the email list, and I've never spent $1 marketing. I've never placed an advertisement anywhere. I've got
this. So we've found out that Hex is its unique selling point is that it monetizes, kind of locking up your coins for a set period in time, and because of that, because on different rates, you get paid different rates. Okay, so how is the rate set? The interest rate you'll be set?
Same way as Bitcoin. Bitcoin pays dividends to miners at a fixed percentage every year, and it just goes down over time.
So
Hex is the same shit.
So Hex says there needs to be 3.5% inflation overall. This person, and it does like a rolling calculation across everybody who's put money in every block.
Well,
it does that every block.
So what the system does, there's actually some pretty cool inventions in it. So if you want to be computationally efficient and you want to compound interest, then storing everyone's interest values to every array for every user is horrible in a blockchain. And it gets worse the more users you get. And so what you can do mathematically is you create a share price system. And then instead of amplifying and compounding rewards to early guys, you just decrease the number of shares later guys get. And then you only need to write to one cell, which is the share price. And then those people, when they lock their hex, they get less shares. And so we have a share price that only goes up. And it sounds like magic. It sounds impossible because people confuse it with a USD price. But it's not magic. It's not impossible. It's just equivalent mathematically to compounding interest for the early guys. If we didn't have a share price, early guys would be able to cheat the system by recompounding over and over again outside of the system. So even if we pay you linear bonuses at 20% extra per year, the guys compounding on the outside would get exponential bonuses, and eventually they would overtake. And so the invention of the share price system, which gives us a chart that only goes up, allows us to have longer stakes always outperforming shorter stakes. And the thing that I invented, which I think is really cool, that isn't pure math, there's a little bit of art to it.
Does the rate? I mean, if I say I'm gonna stake for 10 years, right? And the system goes, whoa, this guy's amazing, he's a hero. Right?
It gives you 3 extra shares.
Yeah. Okay, and then you come along, the same day or the day after, and said, well, I'm going to do 10 years too. Do I suddenly get half the amount of shares I was getting the day before? And so how frequently does that calculate?
Every single time someone ends a stake, it recalculates what the new share price is.
And so when is the payment made?
The payments are credited every day. And then
how is a day calculated?
It uses block time. So if you
block height, a block count?
No, none of those, because they changed the block timing, so they're not reliable. So you can't use those. You actually have to use block time. So people warn you not to use block time because it can shift.
Where does block time even come from?
The miners can in Ethereum, the amount that you can shift block time forward. So the timing rule in Ethereum is that no block can ever have a time earlier than a previous block. Mm-hmm. And most miners set it honestly. And then if someone wants to be dishonest with it, I think they can shift it like 90 seconds to the future or 5 minutes into the future maximum or something. Mm-hmm. And then
it's not that bad then, yeah, okay.
Right. And then you remember, like, this isn't real time. There's no automatic in the blockchain. So these things will get cached and stored and then, actually written to storage when someone updates the system state. So and then the system state's updated whenever someone starts a stake or ends a stake or runs the good accounting feature. So the good accounting feature makes it so we've got dark patterns built into this, just like the regular bank does. So in the regular bank, if you don't end your CD when you said you would, they auto renew you at a shittier rate to fuck you. It's a dark pattern. And if you end your stake early at a bank, they fuck you. So we do those same things. And the beneficiaries of those are, the stakers. So
okay. So this is all amazing then. And then, so I decided I love the unique economic coding genius that's gone into this. So I'm going to lock up my hex for 10 years. Okay, fine, great. Now what? What happens now? Somebody else comes in and says, well, I'm going to buy my hex and do the same, and then people just...
In Bitcoin, you compete for the percentage inflation of the year by bidding with higher hash rates. If you were the only miner, you would get all the inflation. If another miner came along with the same hash rate, you'd split it. And if 2 more came along, you'd split it again, right? This is the same exact thing, except instead of bidding with hash rate, you're bidding with longer stakes or larger stakes. And the longer ones are vastly more important. So we copied the real world CDs. Real world CDs pay you 20% more interest every extra year you lock. And they also have a jumbo CD, which pays you 10% more if it's 100,000.
So let's just imagine a weird scenario. Let's just say that there are 100 hex. 100 hex have come available, are in the total float. 100 people come along and they buy those 100 hex, and they then pledge to loan them all out for 10 years. And say, okay, great, you're amazing. We're going to pay you. Okay, great. That's the case now. 10 years down the line, they get their money back and they've got all this extra hex, and then what?
Well, if the project's successful, maybe they restake, maybe they sell some and buy a Lambo. This is the same thing in Bitcoin. If you had the opportunity to have locked up your Bitcoin 10 years ago and not fucking sold it, wouldn't that have been nice? Wouldn't that have made a lot of people a lot richer? Wouldn't the Bitcoin price be a lot higher right now? So time locking and staking works in companies. It works for 7 points.
I think it's good that Bitcoin doesn't, in a way, because it encourages, kind of distribution.
I don't want to, Bitcoin attacks a different. I don't want you guys to get fooled. You see, you think that the actual sales pitch here is the CD sales pitch.
Rich,
That's
do
just
I sound like I'm fooled right now?
No. So I'll make sure that you don't end up there. The real thing here is the pumpamentals. The real thing here is the referral program. The real thing here is showing people that they can make 10,000% return in Hex if they get in early and stake. And then that number goes down.
So I've heard you mention the referral program a few times now. We haven't covered it. Let's go into it.
Sure, it's just like BitMEX.
How the fuck does
Same thing
that
as BitMEX.
work? But so is there a central authority that you point people to?
Currently, there's only one wallet that works. And that wallet is the wallet that people have been linking to for referral links. And so if you want your referral link that you use to be able to pass the cookie to tell the wallet, hey, I'm supposed to pay a 20% commission to this other address.
I've heard you mention this cookie before as well. What cookie?
Sure. So our referral program does not require sign up. It's instant. So you literally...
Where's the cookie coming from?
If you go to hex.win /R equals your Ethereum address, that's your referral code. And anyone that clicks that will have a cookie set in their browser that says, hey, if I send ETH to the contract or if I free claim, pay this guy 20%.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting because this is a JavaScript cookie, that's from this central issuer of richardheart.win. I mean, what's to stop me saying I'm going to, collect affiliates and, sign that, they can, I will generate a referral, why is it just you doing this,
I would love for it to be more distributed. I would love for other wallets to appear. That would be fabulous. But I'm also worried about people.
They can do that?
You can build it. It's just hard to build, right? So if you know how to use the Etherscan write function, then you can use all of the functions of the contract right there off the internet. But it's hard, right?
So basically, what you're saying is the affiliate system is a native smart contract on Ethereum itself, not just a fucking Python cron job.
Right.
That runs some fucking signatures on a centralized wallet. It's a smart contract.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah. So it's voluntary.
Cool. Is that a common thing? Is it? Because that sounds cool.
I don't think it is. I think I invented it, but I mean, I asked Twitter, and I'm like, hey, did I invent this? And they're like, Bitcoin Talk way back when someone else let you be an affiliate with just your code or whatever.
I think it's really good. But one thing I wanted to ask you was, you said, okay, I invented that. So I mean. Let me get into the details of this a little bit more. Did you write the Solidity smart contract to do this, or was this just an idea and you paid somebody else to do it? What happened there?
I've had a huge role in designing the Solidity smart contract and auditing it, and I didn't want to, but I've been through so many developers now that if I didn't help, this shit wouldn't get done. So
I can appreciate that. So you've had to dig into the whole Ethereum programming and understanding the internals quite a bit, I imagine, to help get a grip on this and make sure you're steering developers into fucking doing it as is your vision.
Exactly. So like in Ethereum, there's no fractions, there's no decimals, everything's integer math. And then you worry about resolution whenever you do division. And so now you're upscaling numbers to get like, there's a lot of shit that go like, in our smart contract, we've got some other innovative things. Like we use a caching system. Since it's cheaper to read from memory than it is to read from storage, we'll just like read everything into cache, and then we'll like do the logic, and then we'll compare it to the cache to see if it needs written or not. We just don't write by default. We data pack all of our events using byte shifting and bit shifting to get things to fit into the smallest possible storage space. And so we've like super duper gas optimized this. And that actually ended up to be really important because with EIP 1884, they changed the S-load price and they just actually broke contracts. They literally changed the amount of gas it cost to read from disk and just broke a shitload of contracts. And they didn't give a fuck.
I think this is another interesting point that you're actually talking about now indirectly, which is that, okay, so this is a brilliant idea. You've worked with the guys, you've gone through everything to put this forward. And, I'm supportive. I think that, I love the idea of, continuing financial innovation beyond the realm and scope of what exists out there to continue to push boundaries. I think it's brilliant. But one thing I was wondering was, like, I spoke before about just copying and pasting your smart contract and just saying, well, this is hex 2. I just added this little thing and said, it's a bit shit. But what about the idea of the whole thing almost being like blockchain agnostic? Like, it can be running on ETH, but, much like Tether is on Tron, Omni, I mean, is there any reason why the same economic guidance and model could not just be replicated and then maybe even chain linked and homogenized to allow seamless throughout the system? You know what I mean?
I agree. I think it's a great idea. So what you're describing is, hey, this works. Let's do it across more places, which is what Tether does. They're like, hey, this works. Yeah. Let's have Tether on TRX, Tether on EOS, Tether on UST like on ERC20, and Tether on Omni. They still have all that shit, and it's a great idea. Now, here's the problem with that. Tether can do that because they're not actually cryptocurrency. They're just an accounting system for a centralized counterparty, and they roll back the chain. So like one time they printed like $1 billion or $2 billion that they didn't have to, and they just fucking deleted it. So because they're a centralized chain, they can do cross-chain shit and, it make it work because they're the one that sets the rates. But if you have a real trustless blockchain where no one has any special rights to roll back and fix anything, then you have to use atomic cross swaps to get trustlessness across chains. And if you don't have atomic cross swaps or some type of Lightning, pre-signed transaction layer 2, then you can't get from one chain to another without using a central oracle, and that's the guy that fucks you. So I would love to do what you're saying, and I think we're in the best ecosystem to do that because you can cross swap from TRX and EOS and Ethereum because they all support Solidity and ERC20, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the closest to being able to do that trustlessly. But I'm not as well versed. Like, I think Kydex does this kind of stuff. I'm not as up to date on atomic cross swaps as I would like to be.
I think this also brings it all the way back to the roundabout, which is what you said when you first came here. What would you like Bitcoin to do? And I said, I'd love it to do all this stuff, but the same way, being so simple is also really good. And it's like what you're talking about, this and Tether and DAI and all the different kind of like ideas built on different platforms. It almost like they're all very interesting and good, but Bitcoin is almost like kind of cute or like just really special.
It works.
Yeah, it's just so simple. It's Notepad, isn't it? It's Notepad on Windows. It's Notepad on Linux. It's simple as fuck, and it just does what it does, and that's it. And it's almost like something nice about the purity of that in a way.
If you If you see how much complexity goes into creating that purity, if you read the last 0.19.1 that was released, the amount of bug fixes that are in there are fucking huge. You're going to hold Page down for a really long time.
Dude, I'm continually impressed by just the amount of ongoing shit that is constantly going on there. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Like, you're like, wow, we didn't actually get any new features, but they fixed 1,000 things. So they made like 1,000 things a little better. You're like, crazy.
Yeah, it is amazing. And the visualizations on the GitHub commits on YouTube also super cool. But the other thing is, I think there is a level of like immaturity in this space, which is to quickly call something a scam. And you know, people love to call Ethereum a scam. It's not. I mean, well, you know, I don't know about the scaling thing on each one. I mean, and in the it's there's a lot of bullshit there, and you know, Vitalik's obviously quantum miners, okay, whatever. But you know, I don't think that you know, what you're doing here is a quote scam. I mean, I think this depositing Ethereum into this address, which you're then obviously just going to go and fucking dump. You know, and the level of centralization and control, you know, is also, you know, I haven't explored that as much as I would like to. But I don't think it's good to call people instant scams. I think people should say, oh, it's an interesting, you know, economic or technological idea and, you know, innovation. It's not something I'm interested to, but if people do it and they get into it and it progresses and it works, I mean, great, all the better, you know.
Well, I think that's pretty good praise coming from you because I think you're a tough audience. So pretty happy with that.
I mean, clearly, Richard, you are incredibly well versed in the goings on of many things, including the technical nature. And you've obviously spent, just I'm sure as we all have done, long time pondering, peeling back layer after layer of what this means and how this will come good and so on and so on. I mean, we all do this, and you've obviously done it a lot yourself.
You know, I want to actually make a difference in the world. I want to get out of crypto and actually do medical research so that I don't die earlier than necessary. My grandparents died. I didn't do anything for them. My dog died. I didn't do anything for her. And I'm next up on the chopping block. And I don't want me and everyone that I've ever known and loved to die earlier and more painfully than necessary. And we need medical research. So Vitalik gave a few $1 million to the SENS Foundation. And I think that's amazing. And I really respect him for it. And it's my favorite charity as well. Because, you know, if you cure cancer, people only live 3 years longer. They just die of the next thing. If you cure heart disease, people only live 3 years longer. They just die of the next thing. If you cure both, it adds up to 7. The math is hard, but it's accurate. And we can do better than that. We can get regenerative medicine. You know, if you can get through lifestyle change or, you know, senolytics or regenerative medicine 3.5 years for somebody, that's better than curing cancer. And cancer kills 40% of people every year. It's better than curing heart attacks, which kills 40% of people every year. That's what I started my YouTube on, right? So I've already written 2 books called Scivive, trying to get people, you know, to a place where their life where they've got enough money and wealth and happiness to want more and to start investing in the technology that could save them. You'll still get rich. There's still a lot of money to be made there. You'll still get rich. And while you're getting rich, instead of making things worse, you'll be making things better. So I want to go into that. And shit's really expensive. It's super, really, really, really fucking expensive. And so if I'm, you know, in the position I am in crypto and Dogecoin is worth $250 million and I've got this untapped, unique, huge market that no one like distributed finance and like earning money trustlessly on like, you know, lending coins out or doing all this different stuff. It's brand new. And there's just a huge opportunity right here.
Okay. So let's get into this then. This huge opportunity because, you know, I love space mining. I want to do space mining. I want to get involved in fucking. I think space is like fucking everything. But I mean, you ain't starting a space mining business about fucking 20 people who have been working at NASA and SpaceX for 15 years, and they know everybody. Okay, fine, whatever. Right, but you say, okay, I want this medical stuff to change the world. We want to be helpful and great. Okay, yeah, fine. So with this Hex thing, I mean, I like the idea of like innovating technically, financially, or that's all cool. But you talk about it as if this is something that's going to make you rich. So how, in the distributed finance, smart contract model, of all this stuff, how does it make you, the founder, idea, and put the work into it? How do you get rich off this? Where's your big bonus coming from?
I'm a Bitcoin holder. This thing's given out for free to Bitcoin holders. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, but besides that, I mean,
I got more. Don't worry, I'm not done. I've got a referral program that I show a link for hacks at pumpamentals.com or maximalish.com or satoshizvision.com. And that will, give you that cookie that pays you 10% extra. So all you guys that don't want to refer yourselves that are listening, you go ahead and click Pumpamentals or Maximalish or satoshizvision.com, and it'll get you a nice 10% bonus, just like Mex, right? I guess whoever has the private keys to this origin address and whoever has the private keys to this flush address that gets all this Ethereum and gets half of the late end stake penalties and half of the early end stake penalties and a copy of the bonuses. So if you claim first day, 20% bonus. The origin address gets a copy. You get paid out on, it doesn't get a copy of your base claim and it doesn't get a copy of the interest. It gets a copy of bonuses. So
okay, wait. So you're saying you get rich on this because you've got some Bitcoin and you're going to get them Hex and okay, fine, that's great. And then you say, I'm going to get rich on this because I've got this affiliate program where I sign up to stuff. Okay, that's great too. But what about all this ETH that people are going to pay? Where does that go?
Yeah, that's where you see the dodging. That's where you see the politician, right?
I know, because I see it every time. It's
you see it again.
The Howey test, I can't tell you this.
Yeah.
Fuck that line. What happens to all the fucking ETH that gets paid in?
If this gets listed as security, it can't trade. And it's very simple. To be a security, I only need to do 4 things. Take money into a common pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others.
I know the 3 things of the Howey test. Don't repeat them to me. I'm just asking a simple question.
I'm not going to violate the law and fuck the contract in the ass and fuck the project in the ass by saying, hey, actually, let's make a bunch of promises here and give you expectations of profit for entrepreneurial effort.
I'm not asking for promises. I'm just saying the ETH that gets paid in, where does it go to?
It goes to an address, and you can do chain analysis on it. And you can try and guess who holds the keys.
But who owns the address?
You can't really own an address. That's not a thing.
Who has the private keys to administer the funds in the address?
I don't know yet because the address hasn't been chosen. So I truthfully can't tell you. And if I did choose, I don't think I would tell you who was chosen, right? So if it's Shamir's secret sharing and the key is spread across, 6 parties, 2 trust companies, and fucking I wouldn't. How would telling you that stuff benefit the project? Because you might assume that, maybe the ETH price will go up now because he maybe won't sell it. Or maybe he'll deploy it for marketing or some shit. And if you assume any of those things, then it could be a violation of the Howey test. So I have to do the hard thing. The hard thing is to not make you promises. ICOs made billions of dollars by making you promises. It's very easy for me to make you promises. And it's very hard and clunky and shitty to forcibly not make you promises and tell you that I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to do no work on this project. I'm not going to put any effort into it. Any money that you send to that Ethereum contract is considered a donation and lost. You'll never receive any benefit from it. That's what I have to tell you because that's what the law makes me tell you. I'd love to tell you something different. The contract would get a lot more money. Think about how easy it would be to make promises, man. Think about what you can do with a big bag of ETH.
I mean, I personally will never ever put a penny into this. I just don't. I into anything like this.
You did it for EOS. EOS had the same exact launch. EOS had a 350 period. You send ETH to the contract, it gives you EOS out the other side. We have the same shit. We have a 350-day period. It's slightly different. Their periods were 23 hours. Our periods are 24 hours. They sold 20% up front and kept 10% for themselves. We don't do any 20% front.
Yeah, they kept that for themselves. And then they said, okay, we're going to use that money raised to put into development costs moving forward for project financing and stuff. And people like that idea. I mean, I'm against the whole thing of this, but your is even worse because people put it in and they don't know where that's going. They don't know who's controlling it. And,
it's not a security. I don't want you to think you get any benefit from that. I truly don't want you to think that because it would be a fucking security.
I mean, the thing
Or, I mean,
is,
look,
don't you promise me profits?
No,
Richard,
I described to you
do.
mathematically how the contract will give you more hex
No,
if you put hex
but
in. But the hex
you
could be
lead
worth
us
less in
all.
USD and you could lose money.
Richard,
That's not profit.
I'm not trying to be some kind of fucking legal asshole here, but, you know, the pitch of the project is that it will be good, useful, and that as a result, you're not saying it's a stable coin, and as a result, you know, you'll get paid this interest, and, you know, it's gonna pay something. Otherwise, if it's not gonna make any money, if there's no expectation to make any money, why am I just gonna go and lock? You know, if you say, okay, there's no expectation for it to make money, I'm expecting it to just completely flatline and not change at all. Why would I then go and lock my money up for 10 years in that with that expectation? I mean, this is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. There's just a very small nuance that flips a switch and makes it go from okay to not okay. I'm allowed to design a collectible car that appreciates due to its limited supply and sell it to you and let you know that it's likely to appreciate. So if you watch on television, there's people advertising collectible plates and other bullshit that they tell you are likely to go up in value. So numismatic coins, likely to go up in value. Collectible comic books, likely to go up in value. There's all types of shit in this world that goes up in value and is designed to go up in value, and they're not securities, because the problem isn't the going up in value. The problem is why they went up in value. Did they go up in value from the essential, non-replaceable effort of others that are not you? Or did they go up in value because of a really good fucking design? And if they went up because they were a good design, then it's not a security. If they went up because it required a specific entity that took money into a common pool to do specific things, and it was essential, then it's a fucking security. And so the problem isn't profit, it's where the profit comes from. And I have to say one other thing. One other thing is important for legal. I believe that even if I told you what this money would be used for, we would still have a very strong standing on the leg of, you're the one minting your own coins, no one else is giving them to you, you're the one that's the entire network, there's not some central buddy, there's nobody else that's giving you money, there's nobody else that's running the network for you, you're the network, you're minting your rewards, and when you stake coins, you're burning them, and when you free claim coins, you're minting them for yourself, just like a Bitcoin miner. Bitcoin miners don't get their coins from other people, they make them themselves. We could stand on that leg alone and say that you're doing the majority of the work, you're not relying solely on the effort of others. We could probably still survive telling you what the Ethereum is going to be used for and who owns it. But why would I risk the project on that shit? And why would I dirty up a leg of the Howey test? So I'm going to do the hard thing, and the contract's going to get less money because I'm going to have more clunky conversations like this.
Okay, let's
but
not
it's going to be
ramble
more
too much.
secure legally.
Okay. So the main point you're making is that just enough of expectation of profit, as I described it, is not enough, as per the Selling Fine China Plates limited edition, but it's the act of who will be responsible for the return of those expectation of profits, and you're making it clear that I am not going to be fucking responsible for any expectation of profits. You know, if it's useful, it's fucking useful. Yeah, I get you.
And I'd never, ever tell you what USD price will do because I have no fucking idea. I have no idea how many people will claim. I have no idea how many people will send ETH. I have no idea what the USD price will do, and no one else in the world does either. Don't take their fucking excuses or reasons why they think they do. They don't. The future is hard to know, and no one knows what these prices will be at all, right? So I don't make any even hint that I can show you some type of return in USD, but I can surely explain to you how the contract was designed and its design intentions and what will happen to your hex. If you put some hex in and you lock it up and you end your stake without penalties, you're going to have more hex mathematically, right? I can prove that shit to you. And when you go to the website, this is the actual thing that we didn't cover, the most important part of this entire fucking project that most people are overlooking. Plus token and OneCoin and Cloud token and Fairwin and all of these fucking scams, they get people's money up front with promising them big percent returns, and then they exit scam their asses. So they get their fake virtual returns, they feel rich for a while, and then the price goes to zero. And then they're nuked. And then it takes them years to save up again. We hit them with a better sales pitch with a larger percent up front because it's mathematically true. If you're the first staker, if you go to the demo, if you go to t.me/hex videos, you can see the demos of the software. You can see that your predicted returns as the first staker are like 10,000%. And it's fucking factually, mathematically true. If no one stakes after you, you're going to make 10,000 fucking percent in Hex. But other people are going to stake after your ass, just like they wouldn't let you be the only Bitcoin miner. And then those numbers are going to come down. But while those numbers are coming down, your ass is already locked up. So it ain't like you can change your play, right? And it's just like Bitcoin mining. People think they're going to get rich buying Bitcoin miners, and they never fucking do because the difficulty keeps going higher. And the same shit's likely to happen to Hex. You're getting in, you're locking up for your fucking 10,000% return, and other people are going to jump on top of your ass and reduce that down to something reasonable. And then if it gets too low, people end stake, and the numbers will go back up. That's the fundamental. That's the thing that makes this thing valuable.
Okay,
that fucking 10,000% is what makes this work.
Okay, so beyond the launch, where's it listed? How do people buy it?
Day one, Ether Delta forked Delta because they couldn't list it. IDEX reached out to me and said they wanted to list it. They're 50% of volume on ETH. Then another place that I haven't really even researched or looked over called BuyDesk wants to list it, and they're messaging me every other day saying, hey, we want to get you your link, and we want to onboard your users, and we want to release they want to do all that shit, right? So, and I've also got a conversation with OKX tomorrow that's scheduled. I talked to some guys at Trex International, and they quoted me like $250,000 to list. I'm like, fuck yourself. Like, no. But they were like a middle guy. They weren't like the real corporate guy. Because look, I've already got over. Go ahead.
Like I said, that there will be a bunch of exchanges which are middle of the ground, which say, we'll list it, fucking hell, and there will be a bunch of people like your Coinbases who will say, no, it's too.
Coinbase is everything now, dude.
Oh, will they?
Yeah, Coinbase is, they fucking have listed how many ERC20s now? Isn't it like a shitload of them?
I don't even know.
I think Coinbase listed a bunch of weird shit ERC20s recently, but whatever. I don't know if Brian Armstrong likes me. We'll see. We'll see if he remembers what I said.
What is the contract? I mean, what is the main contract called?
If you compile it and flatten it, there's just one .sol file, but if you leave it separated, then there's like 5 files, right? So there's your globals file that's going to store out. We actually have a contract walkthrough that will walk through all the variables. The code's extremely well audited and commented, so I can send you the audits. I'm still under non-disclosure agreement with Chain Security. So the issue with the audits is the audits only do 2 things. One, they find bugs, and these guys aren't going to find any more bugs. They're done with that shit. They're tired of working on it. They worked as hard as they want to work on it, right? Because they could just work forever trying to find bugs. Like Trail of Bits charges you by the man week, and it's like $400 an hour per researcher, times 40 hours in a week, right? So it's like $16,000 a week per guy. And then they rate your audits and your man weeks. So we use Chain Security. I'm under NDA. I can't release the audit. The phase that finds bugs already over. Now we're just doing like my developer responses to things that, we have differences of opinion on. Like they want us to use safe math, and we think safe math's a joke. And so we have to write why we think safe math sucks. And that's, a computer science discussion. And that doesn't make the contract any more secure. It's just marketing, basically. All right. So, like when we present these audits to the public, will a user that's not a software developer understand that it really means, this shit's secure? And we had tried all these different attacks against it, and here's the only bug we found that was interesting. The only bug that was found that was interesting in these contracts, and we had CoinFabric out of Argentina with Sergio Lerner as a founder there. And you might know him from RSK, and or his work on Bitcoin. I think he tracked down Satoshi's coins as well. Then we had Trail of Bits. Chain Security out of Switzerland. And they wrote a tool called Verex that they use to audit smart contracts. And it's been published, and it's awesome. So I can send you the CoinFabric audit. I can send you the CoinFabric mathematician that we hired to do a math audit. And I can send you the code. It can be in the GitLab. Okay. I don't even remember the question. I'm lost. What question was I answering?
I don't know. You were talking about all the stuff you've done security, and I was saying nobody cares because look at IOTA.
True.
Look at fucking IOTA, and that's worth 700 million. That's got fucking all these holes. Just absolute bullshit. And then look at Ripple. They're all this. The plebs don't. We're talking about pumpermentals. Stuff like having it code audited. if people are FOMOing, they ain't got time to look at fucking what?
True,
They don't even
true.
understand it anyway. They just need to get in before it goes up the next price,
Well, I've already paid so much that I would like to actually get my equity out of the fucking things because I'm proud of it anyway. So the problem is, like, my best dev, I have an option. I can either pull him off of working on the wallet that matters, or I could have him do public relations, writing text to release the audits. And I'm like, yeah, do the thing that matters and just like work on the wallet, right? So the audits will probably come out like a week or two after the contract launches. But I mean, I can send you in the state. I can send you the CoinFabric ones in the state that they are now. But I can't do that with ChainSec one because I'm under NDA.
I believe you that you put all this work into it. But where did you find your developers from?
I've been through tons of them. I've been through tons.
Where
of them.
from though?
Well, half the time they've reached out to me because we had similar interests. Like one of them, I got to know through Shit Talking IOTA. One of them was referred by that guy. One of them was a guy that I've known for a bunch of years, and I convinced him to get into blockchain, and he just became a developer. And he wasn't always a developer, right? He got into it and got good at it. Where else? I guess the auditors I found through Google searching. Yeah. So my best guy was a referral from the guy that met me through Shit Talking IOTA is my best guy. Because if you look at code bases, there's always one hero that actually writes all the fucking code. So if you look at Bitcoin, Peter Wooley actually writes all the fucking code.
I know. It's a lot to get into as well. Look what Enigma wrote though. God, he's singing our praises.
I missed that last sentence. What?
A mouthful of toast.
Oh, your mouthful of toast got you.
Look what Enigma wrote.
I believe that I've created something that is important and that can save a lot of people from getting scammed by scams by hitting them with the same sales pitch with a high percent and a huge market that we're attacking and the referral program and slick videos and all this other fancy shit. And I think it does everything that most of these other currencies do better. Does it have low fees? Yes. Does it have audits and security? Yes. Does it have plugs into distributed finance? Yes. Does it have trustless interests? Yes. Stake it till you make it. Fancy slogans. Yeah, we got all that shit, right? Great looking logo. We got all that stuff. Well, what's the only thing it doesn't have? It doesn't have anonymous transactions. If Ethereum gets them, we'll get them. Cool. It doesn't have liquidity because it's new. It doesn't have ATMs, so it's not going to be useful on the darknet because apparently only things that have ATMs are useful there. And what else? It doesn't have fake partnerships like, oh, we're working with IBM. Oh, we're working with fucking Volkswagen, right? Well, tell Volkswagen to press the buy button because you're at multi-year lows, bro. Do you want me to answer questions in chat here? Do you want to answer the text since you got toast?
Oh, you can do whatever you want, but the other thing I was going to say was, I think it's great that you've done this, like the innovation, whatever. It's great, but I still don't think that just that alone is enough to make this, a strong, powerful, dominant. It's definitely not a Bitcoin killer. Is it some kind of like, I'm pretty pessimistic on it.
Let's play a thought experiment. What would happen if OneCoin actually onboarded people into like Dogecoin instead of OneCoin?
Dogecoin be the fucking moon.
Okay, well that's how I feel about this shit, right? We have the pumpamentals and the same tactics and strategies to onboard all of those poor sons of bitches that are getting their entire life savings nuked by those other companies because they're the only people actually onboarding users. The Ponzi schemes are the only people actually onboarding users. So for me, the most important part of this project is onboarding those millions of people. Like we've got a Chinese webpage. We've got Chinese translations for the videos. We've got a WeChat. Like there's a lot of good shit here. Like we've own physical printed CNC machined aluminum coin. We've got a fucking hexshirt.com that's got every stupid dumbass product you could think of with bikinis with hex logos on them. And like we've got everything about Animus. Go ahead.
Besides all that, there is no utility to the token besides buying it and staking it. There's no other utility to it beyond that at the moment.
Yep.
But I don't think
that's more than everyone else has.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could say Ethereum itself has more utility than that.
They got a referral program that I can shill and get rich on?
But, I mean, to shill it and get rich on it, the end token has to be paid at the, has to be worth something at the end, doesn't it?
In a few days, I'll be able to answer that question for you. But right now, I got no fucking idea. I can tell you how many email signups I got. I can tell you what people predict the price will do. Maybe this matters to you. I put out a Twitter poll, and I said, if you can predict the ratio, the multiplier between our low on the first day of trading at the most volume exchange to the high of day 183, you'll get 10,000 hex. And it's 1 day poll. People's responses were 1400x, 43x, 500x, 20x, 10x, 5x, 0.05x, but mostly large fucking numbers. That makes me think that people are willing to invest. Because if you really thought some shit was going to go up 40x in 6 months, you ain't going to buy some of that shit? So from the only numbers I got, we have 20,000 emails. I show on Google Analytics we only get like a 1.5% conversion from visitors to email. But maybe a lot of people block the cookie, so maybe those numbers are wrong. But if those numbers are right, then we've got about 20K, times 70. So like 20K times 70 actually interested people. That's a shitload of people that have hit the site, right? And if we just use what seems to be like more reasonable, like maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 people parts with their email address, which is just optional. There's no reason to actually give the email. If it's 1 out of 20, then that's 400,000 people that are really fucking interested. That's a lot of people, man, for not $1 spent marketing, not a single dollar. I got an article coming out in Cointelegraph that I just interviewed with a reporter a few days ago, and I haven't even done a press release. I haven't even called CoinDesk. I don't have any ads anywhere, and I've already got like 400,000 people interested with 20K signups. Those are huge fucking metrics, and these are all like real addresses. These are Proton mail addresses.
And I hear you on all this. I understand the idea is to get as many people into it as possible, but it doesn't make it worth anything at the end of the day. You can have a bunch of people in fucking BitConnect. It's worth shit.
It's only worth shit because the price dumped. If the price didn't dump, it'd be worth, as you said, the fucking moon. The Exascam is the problem.
Yeah, but if there's no, if there's a constant supply through inflation and not, greater than inflation demand.
Agree with that. So listen to this. What is your inflation in hex if you're an average length, average size taker? 0%. Hex is so fucking good that the inflation is actually 0% if you're an average length, average size taker. And most people are going to be stakers.
Yeah, but then it's just going to be an illiquid, low volume, untradeable, coin that just...
Like all the other multi-billion-dollar coins? Maybe that's not that bad.
Yeah, but look, I mean, if that's the case... the thing is, it's got to have a USP, hasn't it? To really to become, what you're talking. If you raised 130 million, you're going to have enough headlines from that, and enough bag holders from that. That it'll probably just self-pump to 700. But it's also about timing. Like right now, I mean, if you launch this project. Mid 2017, maybe it'd be up there for 6 months or something. But I mean, you launch it now in the dead time.
It's the best. That's when Ethereum launched. Ethereum launched in the bottom of the bear market to 4,300x in 3.5 years. Ethereum shit on Bitcoin all of 2016 and 2017. They did a 4,300x in 3.5 years. And they launched at the bottom of the bear market. I'm happy to launch before an Ethereum fork and before the fucking halvening. I think it's a fantastic time to launch.
Okay, that's fine. But I tell you, I am so fucking pessimistic.
When would you know that it was good? How would you falsify your thesis? When would you know Hex was awesome?
I mean, if it was basically top 3 coins.
That's a pretty fucked up bar, dude. You're gonna have a 2 or 3 year delay on sampling frequency before you even look at shit.
Yeah, but I mean, I honestly, I am so.
You bought EOS. Like, come on, dude. Fucking, like, I'm not.
Buy
This
and
is
sell
not.
it higher.
But that's
I'm not
fine.
interested in EOS.
Do that here. So let me ask you this. If you got your free hex, which costs you a couple pennies of Ethereum to do, or you could mine your own block, but I doubt you're doing that. You're probably just paying a couple pennies to claim it. You're going to get 12,000 hex. This is if you're not referred. If you're not referred, you don't get the 10%
so
bonus.
generous of you, my lord.
Exactly. You get 12,000. These digits are so expensive to calculate electronically that these are special custom edition signed digits. If you have a Bitcoin and you claim this free shit, it's 12,000 the first day, and only 90% of it's auto staked. So 90% of your money is locked up for 350 days. And that 90% that's locked up for 350 days, if you stake the first day, you really need to increase it by a day. Otherwise, you'll miss the big payday at the end where we give you all the unclaimed coins, times all the multiplier bonuses, times all the Mt. Gox can't claim, Multisig can't claim, all those coins, right? It's about 2/3 of the Bitcoin supply, I estimate, will be handed out at the end of the claim phase at day 350. What are you going to do with your 10% that's not auto-staked? Are you going to dump it? Are you going to stake it? Are you going to stake it for 10 years and get 3x more? Are you going to do a ladder?
Let me ask you this. What do the ETH boys, right, on Twitter, when MakerDAO come along with DAI, they literally fucking put that cock right in their mouth and just got on their knees for it. This was their dream. An algorithmic Oracle fucking proof stable coin. We are the fucking kings. Fucking DAI MakerDAO myself with the inflation to fucking riches and Lambos. Okay, great. What are what's the rest of the Ethereum community's kind of feedback on your approach been like?
I have thrashed the Ethereum community for so many years that I don't think they like me very much. So I don't think they give the project a fair shake because I'm tied to it. So I don't think the Ethereum community likes this shit, is my opinion. But I have conflicting information. The conflicting information that I had was I thought all my followers were Bitcoin maximalists, because I always shit talked everything else and was a toxic asshole to everything else and said wonderful things about Bitcoin all the time. And then when I did a poll, and I was fucking wrong. So like 67% of my followers has an Ethereum wallet too. And I didn't have an Ethereum wallet till very long ago. So like I was fucking surprised and shocked that really my audience, the loud ones are Bitcoin maximalists, but the quiet majority is okay with Ethereum and Bitcoin. I had no idea. So I think due to the 20,000 emails that this shit's going to get more adoption than maybe people realize. And more than I realize even, and more from Ethereum users. But look, this is all going to be resolved in 4 days. The snapshot.
That's when it goes on, is it 4 days?
Let me check the time.
I mean, is it just, do I have to like
3 days?
3 days.
I mean, how do I claim my Bitcoin's worth of hex? How do I do it?
Bro, it's so easy. So easy. It's a 1 minute and 24-second long video on youtube.com/hexcrypto. 1 minute and 24 seconds. And that even includes me right-click copy-pasting, talking slowly, and showing you how to import keys, which if you use a good wallet, you don't even need to do that shit. Your keys are already in a good wallet that can sign. So I'll link you to the video real quick, man. It's like super easy. Where should I post this?
Just put it in the chat.
Did you make
the rec room? The rec stream room?
Yeah, put in the rec stream room.
Did you make a partnership with exchanges?
No. So we're going to list on EtherDelta and ForkDelta because anyone can add them day one. IDEX reached out to me and said they wanted to list. They're 50% of volume on Ethereum dexes. Some other exchange called Bidesk wants to list it. I don't know anything about them. And then I've got a call with OKX tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I have no idea. Maybe they're going to be like, you suck, Richard. Fuck yourself. I don't know, right? But it's a call, so we'll see.
You can talk to Bitfinex, the world's most liquid USD Bitcoin dollar trading exchange?
Yeah, they're like more frigid than normal, right? Like they didn't want to do Kim.com's thing due to regulatory is my guess. So I'm not working that very hard, right? Like I just said, hey, what's up? And then they're like, yo, opinion letter. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like just kind of chilling on it right now. I'm not working on it.
How much of the mine did CZ want?
I haven't talked to CZ yet. I think that one, since CZ has a cold wallet that he can claim Hex with to onboard his users for free and get paid as a referrer 20%. Bittrex has, a couple 100,000 coin that they could claim, and they'll get nuked by the whale penalty by 75%. But giving their users free money still seems like a pretty good way to get people to log back in and do some fucking volume, because right now they're just delisting shit and dying. Unless you're Binance, right? They still do volume. But if you're like Trex or Poloniex uses multisig, they don't have a wallet they can claim. But if you're Trex, like, you can become a Hex referrer, give all your users a 10% bonus for using your ref link, and get 20% on top of their stacks. Getting 20% of someone's stack is gigantic. As a normal referrer from any other program, you're getting 1%, right? Like if you're a Changely or a Shapeshift affiliate, they charge like 5% on the user, and then you get like 20% of the 5%. Well, that's 1%. It's jack shit. You get 20% of someone's whole stack as a referrer in Hex. It's fucking awesome. So no one pays higher. Like there isn't a referral program that pays higher. Now, this obviously matters if there's a USD value and liquidity that you can sell into, and I can't predict that shit. So let's just wait and see how it works out. That's my answer to exchanges. If you know anybody that wants to list it, send them my way. I'm not paying to list, just not going to do it. So if I can onboard 100,000, 200,000 users, I can't tell you how many users I've onboarded to exchanges. It's a lot. You want me to promote your exchange. So I think I've got more leverage to get free listings than most other kind of token founders.
I mean,
I put the link in there. It's just 1 minute and 24 seconds. If you guys just click it and look at it real quick, I think it would be like pretty fucking cool. Do you see it work, right?
I'm putting it on.
The reason I think Hex will never compete with Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is not a currency, it's not a product, it's an internet protocol. Bitcoin is much more similar to TCP/IP than, say, for example, Chrome. This is why the whole MySpace argument doesn't really mean anything for Bitcoin. It's like back in 20 years ago, when TCP/IP first came out, CompuServe and AOL came out. They had huge marketing budgets. They were going to replace TCP/IP and the internet because they have affiliate referral programs and marketing budgets. And you come 20 years later, and AOL is dead, CompuServe is dead, and TCP/IP is slowly upgrading to version IP6.
I agree with what you're saying, but you just named the wrong token. So everything that you just described about, being the internet instead of being AOL, that's what Ethereum is now. Ethereum is the Legos of finance. You want to stick this with that and stick that with this and have everything stay in the same trustless shit. Ethereum has that. Right now, the only 2 or 3 companies who have ever tried to build on top of Bitcoin have failed entirely, which are Counterparty, XCP, 5-year-old coin, $100 a day of volume. Omni used to do a shitload of Tether transactions. Now they've all moved over to Ethereum because it's a better network, and they are doing $100 a day of volume, and they're a 5-year-old coin as well. So the only 2 things that have ever tried to build on Bitcoin has actually tried to kill and shake off. So back when Counterparty used to use 80 bytes in the opcode, Bitcoin fucked them because they're bloating out the chain and moved that shit to 40 bytes, right? And Bitcoin doesn't want you to build on top of them. Bitcoin is okay with Lightning because they kind of have friendly, similar devs, but they're not okay with other people building on top of them.
Bitcoin is not a protocol for building software. Bitcoin is a protocol for transfer of value.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, yeah, that sounds good. I hope the shit keeps going up. Like, I hope the next Chinese Ponzi pumps my bags because I'd rather have ETH right now, and I'm not really happy to sell this low RSI.
Yeah, I fucking hate ETH. I really do. I think Bitcoin should be literally worth so fucking much, and ETH should be worth the same as Counterparty and Omni. The actual ETH protocol, you don't want expensive ETH because expensive ETH is expensive fees. Expensive fees means you can't do your smart contract shit. So ETH, it needs to be really low for it to actually work as what it's intended to do.
I agree with that. I agree with everything you just said there. I'm not bullish the ETH price. I think it's going to be more like a dumb pipe and that you'll get value acquisition at the end. And as far as Bitcoin, look, I hope it goes to the fucking moon. Like I thought, hey, CME's coming. Wall Street's going to buy our bags. I thought, backed. I knew backed would dump. I checked the records. I called short at 19K back in 2017, back when you get paid a percent a day to do it. That was nice. So I called 20K Christmas. I called short at 19. I called long at 9,300. Got fucked down to 8,500. Right? Like
but
my public calls were all Tone. He called the top at 7,000, and then stuck with it. And then we went to
Tone is so unbearable. He said, on Twitter or something the other day. He said, I've been bearish since 15K, and I've never seen a reason to even go bullish. I'm like,
he longed 17K. He longed the breakout at 75.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, so you're telling me you've been bearish since 15K, all the way down to 3, and you didn't think it would be worth being at least mildly bullish for some kind of correctional bounce, and then we go from 3 to like 13, and you just don't see any. I fuck it, Tone. Just shut the fuck up, Tone.
Yeah, he's a cosplayer. He pretends to trade, but he doesn't even watch the market.
No.
He didn't know what Plus Token was. He didn't know they own 1% of all Bitcoin. He didn't know they bought the bottom. He didn't know that when their founders arrested was the 14K top. He doesn't know shit about
doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. I went on his video and I said to him, I said, Tone, what do you think about Finex's, margin data and how the rates people pay affect the pressure on their positions with regards to the he'd never even. This is like 2016. He didn't even know Finex had lending data. He didn't even understand. He knows nothing. He is the biggest. He talks about shitcoins being a scam. He's the biggest fucking scam in all of fucking crypto. He is.
If it weren't for CSW, I mean, he's got to take the fucking crown. Did you see me beat up on CSW on stage?
I heard about something. I don't think I saw anything. But dude, that we were laughing today at you. I'm sorry. Those dancing videos.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Go to Richard Hart GIFs on Telegram, man. I got a collection of that shit.
That was pretty bad. I mean, don't know what you're thinking.
I get fruity with it, mate.
I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about with those ones, but
let me pop and lock you into the future, Doc. I did a year dance. I'm, relatively shit at it. Did you see the video? Did you click it? It's only a minute long.
Yeah. I watched it. It looks fine. So okay,
so it's way better now, by the way. So it's way better. I made a new video that's 10 minutes long, but it's not published. You have to go on the Telegram to see it. It's just Hex videos. And there's a 10-minute that walks you through the new UI. It shows you how to use the adoption amplifier, how to send ETH, how to get your ETH to turn into Hex, how to stake, how to claim, and then it just works. It's fucking great.
I mean, I'm honestly, I'm on a Telegram sabbatical right now.
I feel it.
Yeah, I'm taking a break.
So I want you guys to know the snapshot is in 3 days and 23 hours. And so if you have Bitcoin in your possession and an address that starts with 1 or a SegWit address, then you can claim, and you only need to sign a statement from your Bitcoin wallet. Coinomi can sign, Electrum can sign, Bitcoin Core can sign, unless it's a BC1 because that functionality is broken in Core. You can sign from Electrum for your BC1s. You can use Trezor and Ledger through Electrum. You can use Trezor and Ledger through MetaMask. So we're full hardware support on both the Ethereum side and the Bitcoin side. And this shit's free. So claim it for a couple pennies and then dump it on the market or stake it or do whatever you want.
What's this Wolf saying? Who knows Kieran's last name that was listed on Hex website and quit saying it was a scam on Twitter? What's the story there?
So Kieran got a job with a big company where he lives, and he wanted to make his resume look clean. And so he just didn't want to have anything to do with the project because, crypto doesn't look that great for most employers. And so we just removed him. And since none of his code was in the project anyway, it's no sweat off my ass. And this is what's happened to the vast majority of my developers. So if you go on the website right now and you look at Cody, there's literally text there that's added that says none of his code made production because none of his code is in the fucking system. So yes, he's worked on it, but ain't none of his code in it. So it's just a picture there basically, right? I don't tell anyone who the real devs are because I don't want them getting job offers and being fucking bothered. I want them to sit there and do the work until it's done. Because we've been delayed long enough, right? This shit should have been out 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Crypto Scam Hub. What Richard Hart doesn't want you about his free Hex. Surprise is created to the sole purpose of making him a ton of money, and here is how. Let's have a look.
Did you make a Bitcoin talk page yet?
Yeah, but there's no traffic on that. I made one a long time ago, and it's not even worth anything. There's no traffic. It's weird.
The ETH bucket gets a bunch of the hex, right?
No. Well, do you mean so the people that send ETH to the adoption amplifier to transform it into hex? You're asking like how much hex that goes into that?
No, as in like that address that has the ETH. I mean, does that get?
Sure. There's two things that you're looking for if you're looking for things that look like founders rewards. One is the origin address that gets a copy of bonuses. If you claim the first day, you get a 20% bonus. It gets a copy. If you refer someone, you get paid 20%. It gets a copy. If you got a 10% bonus for being referred, it gets a copy. If you emergency end your stake, it gets half of it, and you get the other half. Okay. So it gets the same shit you get.
I've enjoyed these videos anyway. These the last two. I have actually watched it. I didn't watch the one with you talking to that girl though.
Which one? There's been a lot of those, mate.
The one outside.
There's three outside ones. There was Altcoin Sarah, and then Jessica Walker, and then a girl who's a Bitcoin maximalist.
The blonde girl.
The one that was standing or sitting?
Standing.
Okay, you skip that one. But the sitting one was good. She's a Bitcoin maximalist.
And I didn't watch the one with you on stage somewhere as well.
Yeah, that was just me shilling Bitcoin. I just only said good things about Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, I didn't watch that one either, but I did see those links. But the other
you should watch the one where I fuck with Satoshi. It's only 2 minutes long. 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
The Eric one I liked. The Tone one I really fucking liked.
Did you watch the Ivan one? It's pretty good, but it's probably a little long for you. 2 hours 44. Today I did that.
Too long. Yeah, too long.
Yeah, my show with Ivan got twice the views as Andreas' show. So we got 20K views on mine, and Andreas got 10K views. But he got a lot more likes. I get a lot of dislikes.
I mean, Andreas is making a pivot. You know?
To what?
Well, he was always about Bitcoin, and you know he's taken a big pivot to the ETH.
He's moving he's writing a third book now. I think that's why he's kind of doing the press tour, and he's doing on Lightning. So his first book was Bitcoin, second book was Ethereum, and now his third book is going to be Lightning. So I guess he's pivoting back. Well, so you guys, so what do you guys think the return is going to be in 183 days? What would you have guessed against all those other people? What's the low day one versus the high on day 183? You think it's going to be zero?
I would say probably minus 95%.
All right, so 0.05 would be your guess, right? Well, times 0.05 is the same as minus 95.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any guesses? Because I don't have a fucking guess. I really have no idea what it's going to do. But I'm curious how you guys as traders, the numbers you give, how they're different than what just like normal Twitter gives.
If I thought it was going to go up, I'd put money in it. But I just don't. I just think it's just going to get absolutely destroyed.
So even though that free claim is locked for a year, and even though everyone's seeing returns of 14,000%, and even though the public believes they're going to get 40x returns in USD value, you don't think that's going to pump. So everyone's locked up. Everyone's putting money in. No one can sell.
If everybody's locked up, where's the float? Where's anything to sell from?
The AA guys that get in aren't locked up. So that JPEG image from the Crypto Scam Hub guy, that's where you just transform your ETH into Hex. The smart contract that transfers your ETH into Hex is called the AA, the Adoption Amplifier. That shit's not locked. You can sell that whenever you want. And then referral commissions, you can sell whenever you want. And the 10% of the free claim, you can sell whenever you want. So there is liquidity, but there's also a lot of lockups. And I think that I know a lot of people that will be locking up 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. I think if you don't see people putting money in for some giant reward payout on day 353, and you don't see that appreciating, it's like very interesting.
What about this? What about this problem? I buy some Hex. I don't give a fuck about it really, but for a little speculative bet, I'll put $100 on it I'll stake it for 1,000 years. You
It
know?
maxes out.
Oh,
There's
does it?
a max, yeah, and the bonus maxes as well. So the bonus just maxes at 3x because otherwise there would be an attack vector.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
But how-
because they would just eat up all the bonus, and then everyone would be underpaid because of that one guy. We accounted for that.
Yeah, so what is the max duration?
Right now in the contract, it's probably still like 50 or 25 years. And before we really launch, it's going to be in between 10 and 15 years. And the bonus max is out at 10.
You'll be dead on the 50-year one.
Probably. Yeah, I'm a fat fucker, so I need to like start eating more healthily. But I'm a stress eater, and this shit's stressful, man. So like I have a snapshot in 3 days and 23 hours. Fuck me. Like
I actually read the other day a thing that says that when you're under stress, whether you're eating or not, just being stressed makes your body produce this chemical, which just makes it go into fat storage.
cortisol.
Well, I don't know. I'm not.
I know.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. Like, but I'm strong as fuck now. Like, you see my deadlift video? Like, I'm fucking strong. Like 3 plates, 12 reps on the deadlift.
I did watch that video, and I just thought to myself, it's just not my thing. You know, I like swimming.
I just float. You know, my arms just flop around. I'm not actually able to move. I look more like a cereal.
I'm like a seal, or well, more like a walrus. But you know, walruses they may be big, you know, and have a lot of weight, but they're fucking slipline. They're fast. You know, I'm like a walrus.
Guys, it was really nice talking to you. I hope that some of you enjoy the free money and it works out. And then if not, then at least it'll be funny and we'll have the memes, right? Be like, hey,
Yeah,
that
that's-
Richard, look, he crashed and burned.
Richard, look, come back on in like 6 to 12 months, and you know we'll have a recap and we'll see where we're going.
Sounds good, guys. Hey, it's been a pleasure. Coin Run, it's nice hearing your voice, man.
See you later, bud.
See you later, guys. Ciao.